Welcome back to TEYARA SMP, a TNP Limitless 7 series, and unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter one this week. Originally, I'd intended to build out some more of the exterior of the base, not by the docks, just up at the top, because we don't have a roof currently, and I would very much like to have one. But my brain just wasn't in a space to be able to do much in the way of architectural building, so we're doing something a little bit more functional this week. But before we get into it, I took a couple of rewards from the quest book, and I got these roller skates, and they're an artifact that make you ridiculously fast. Now, they also give you a bit of a step-up effect, so like if you approach a 1 block high like this, theoretically, if I were facing forward, it would just let me skate up that block. The only drawback is it kind of treats you like you're on ice all the time, and I've gotten used to that movement, but chances are I won't be wearing these all the time while I'm recording, because that would just kind of be bad for you guys. And there are some certain conditions that I will probably put these back on in the future, but we're not there yet. I'm gonna sleep, and then we're gonna get into the meat of today's video. Now, we are still working on something just outside the mine. In fact, this unfinished area up top is supposed to be something like a barracks or communal living area for the miners and other people that just might live there for some reason. Again, this whole place is kind of inspired by Final Fantasy XI, so it doesn't have to make sense, it just has to do what it's supposed to do. So if we come up here, this is like just a staircase to get up to the communal area. There might be some storage here, there might be like a table here. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to furnish this part, but the point is there's not going to be anything particularly important in this section here. And the other thing is I kind of want to refactor these stairs now that I know about a couple other blocks and like framed blocks. We might repeat our sort of build down by the docks and use a bunch of different things to get the same kind of slope, just less jankily, because right now we're using chisels and bits, and I'm pretty sure villagers get stuck on these, like they can't pathfind over them correctly, so that's one thing that's probably going to change in the future. But then, moving on in, this in the back is where the villagers are eventually going to live. We're going to hollow this area out, we're going to put in a whole bunch of different living quarters, maybe even some like tool stations and armor stations and the like, grindstones, just all of the villagers that you would think would be associated with the mine and or the forge. But the real thing that we're going to be working on is here. We have something like a communal kitchen area, and I've already been working on some of the functional bits. We're going to get into some cooking for Blockheads immediately after this, but what I wanted was a create-based smoker. And the thing is, I wanted to make it in a chimney, and this is vaguely inspired. Like, we don't have any of the purely aesthetic blocks in just yet, but this is vaguely inspired by a scene from Kiki's Delivery Service, wherein I believe an old woman makes herring pie casserole, something like that. And she has like this kind of older oven where there's like a main chamber that you put your food in, and then next to it there's a chamber for the coal. And so I thought, okay, well, what if we do something like that and we sort of build an oven into a smokestack? And so naturally this is going to be covered up by nether brick, and we're going to have a little bit of shaping here. We're going to do something with the exterior wall just a little bit, and unfortunately this isn't fully automated. I would like to be able to do that maybe with a couple of smart observers, like one here and one here. We might be able to do that and then link it up to this block here, which is how we're shutting off our Stirling dynamo. But let's just put some stuff in the system and then I'll walk you through how it all works. So we've already cooked up some bread, just as a test. We've also got some charcoal in here because that's how we're fueling the Stirling dynamo. Realistically, we could use anything that's burnable for fuel, but When I toggle this lever, the Stirling dynamo activates, which will then turn on this basic motor. We have a couple of fans, and when I turn it on, you will see that we have items flowing up from this smart chute. Now, this was a bit of an interesting design to try and debug, because compactness is the issue. Here, we're using the mangrove barrel with an advanced hopper upgrade to output to the smart chute. And the reason it's a smart chute is because we only want to ensure that items that can be smoked, and also is not bread, cooked chicken, cooked pork, or cooked beef, do not get into the system. And so, by using the barrel to actually push as an output, and then using the filter on the smart chute to restrict the items that goes in, we can extend the functionality of the barrel hopper upgrade with this filter from Create. And normally you can't really do that, I don't think. I think if you were to put a Create filter in one of these whitelist, blacklist spots, then it would only output filters, and that's not what we want. So, once we have our smoked item, it goes into the smart chute, and we have an encased fan, which pushes it up. I might increase the speed, don't know how I feel about that. And the other thing is, we're also probably going to increase the capacity of this barrel. We're going to increase it probably eventually up to netherite level, and then we'll have 4 of these advanced hopper upgrades so that we can output like a full stack at a time. Kind of like what we're doing over in the forge, except I think that's only 2 or 3, so we're only getting like half a stack at once. But the point is, our smokable items blow up this chute, and then we have mangrove barrel up at the top with another hopper upgrade. It pulls from the quote-unquote bottom of the barrel, which is to the north, which is where our input chute is, and then it pushes to the top, or the south, which is where this depot is. And so then, it is naturally above our campfire, which has an encased fan below it as well. So now it's smoking things. And then we have another filter here that allows items that can't be smoked anymore. So even if, for whatever reason, a non-smokable item gets into the system, this will just spit it back out. But then, once everything's done cooking, it will also be spat back out into the chute, back into the barrel. Then, the other thing is we also have bread, beef, chicken, and pork as restricted items, so that if we cook something up, it doesn't try to cook it up twice. Again, this is the kind of problem that we had with smooth stone over at the smelter. And so, once it goes into the chute, back into the barrel, this is an interesting part of how hopper operation order works. So, this, despite being quote-unquote a hopper, does not immediately try to push the items that we've just gotten out to the left. No. It waits for this to complete its pull operation first. And so, any item that is bread, cooked beef, pork, chicken, or cannot be smoked gets sent back down into the input barrel. And so that's how we're automatically redirecting all of our cooked bread back here. And that's kind of fantastic, if I do say so myself. It's very compact. And the other thing is, I have done a very rough efficiency comparison, and so what I've found is that it takes approximately 1 charcoal to cook 28 items, which is just about 3 times as effective as just a regular furnace, which, as you would expect, is 1 coal to 8 items. It's a little bit inefficient in that this motor builds up a lot of power, and so I need to be sure to turn this off as soon as we're done cooking everything that's up in here. And I'm not entirely sure what the real ratio is of coal to cooked food, but I tell you, it's certainly more efficient than waiting for the furnaces and smoker down below, and it's also faster because we can do this in bulk. And when I upgrade this barrel to output more items, then we're also going to get items back faster, or at least in larger chunks, because, well, we're only cooking 4 items at a time up here. It's kind of unfortunate. Oh wait, no, okay, actually, I need to upgrade both of the barrels because this one is our output, effectively. We're only getting 4 items at a time up through this funnel. But even if we sent up a full stack, it would just sit here and then output 4 at a time into this depot. So whatever this level gets up to, this also needs to be that level. So I think we're going to start by going all the way up to gold, put in more hopper upgrades so that we get at least 32 items out of it, possibly more, and then eventually we'll get to netherite, and the reason I want to do netherite is because we are, again, trying to mix in with the nether bricks, and I think that looks better. So that's enough about that system. I'm going to go ahead and sleep, and then we're going to get into some cooking for blockheads, and I think this is going to be a much better way to put together stuff than I have been doing it. Now, cooking for blockheads is, as you can see, a multi-block kitchen, which means that when we put this stuff together, any part of the kitchen that we can interact with also interacts with the rest of the kitchen. And if we go into our quests, we can see that I have one of every functional block here, as well as the 2 different cooking books, except I think I've already made one into the cooking table here, so we really only just have the 1 book, but that's fine. So we have all of the components of the kitchen that we could possibly need, and we're just going to start with the refrigerator, and I really like how that's a multi-block as well. Then we are going to put in, I'm trying to figure out what I want to put next to it. I'm thinking kitchen counters, maybe. And then I'm also thinking about where I want to put the oven, because I kind of want to have like sort of a fume hood over it. And I think what'll end up happening is it'll be in the corner, and then I'll just sort of have that hood kind of meet up with the chimney over here. I ideally would just wrap it around the corner, but the thing is, there's no real good looking way to do that, because if you use a corner block, there's a gap between it and the next block up, and if we wanted to use like the floor blocks from cooking from blockheads, then that doesn't really fit the aesthetic of the rest of the build. So we're going to have some growing pains. There's going to be some weirdness in this build, whether it's just the fume hood or anything else. Oh, and this is done cooking, so we can turn this off. And before I continue, one other thing of note, in this pack, and I don't know if it's a vanilla Minecraft thing or an enhanced like smoke type thing, but when you put blocks in the way of just the natural smoke streams or whatever, it starts to back up. And like when this was 2 blocks down, just directly above the campfire, we were flooding this room with smoke, kind of like what's happening right now. I'm hoping that putting in like an alternate way for it to vent out and then blocking this way off will help with that, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure what mod does this, but we'll find out the hard way. So let's keep going with our kitchen counter. I want to be mindful that we also need the sink. We also want our oven here, and I think I have too many kitchen counters, but I think that was because of the quest that necessitated that. So we have that, and then I think the problem is we need to be able to put the toaster and the cow in a jar on top of stuff. Oh, and cow in a jar. This one's interesting. So you start off by making a milk jar, which is cooking for blockheads, which is a fairly simple recipe. Bucket of milk, glass, and planks for the stopper. But this doesn't actually provide milk to recipes, I don't think, or if it does, it's not infinite. Cow in a jar, on the other hand, which is also needed for one of the quests, is theoretically infinite. It will generate milk slowly over time, and the nice thing is that this pack has a lot of different modded cows in it. That's not the nice thing. The nice thing is that when you use it with a modded cow, it detects the process to make a cow in a jar correctly. And that process is, if we check out the quests again, place a jar under the cow and then drop an anvil on top of it. So I just had a modded, a sunshine cow or something like that, just up on the hill. Yeah, there's one right there. And it just worked. I wasn't expecting that. But as far as where we want to put our cow in a jar, I think we jump up and put it on top of the cabinet there. It doesn't make a lick of sense, but we can kind of... You know what? I've got a better idea. This should theoretically still connect to the multiblock. Ooh. That should theoretically still connect to the multiblock. Oh, but that floats. I don't like floating. Okay, that's fine. I guess we do just put the jar up above the thing. So we do that. And then we have spice racks, a tool rack, and a fruit basket. Oh, I need a place for the fruit basket too. Fruit basket. That is very silly. How do we access? Okay, so we can just put fruits in there. And I think avocados are a fruit. I sure know they are in real life, but I don't know how the game treats them. So let's see. Let's do spice rack there and tool rack there. And I don't know how many tools we're going to ultimately need, but the other thing is, and you can see that we've got this sort of terracotta color going on. I don't like that. It doesn't really vibe with the rest of the room, but we can just casually dye our kitchen like that. And now, what I would love to see is if we take just all of the bread that we've gotten so far and use the toaster. Oh, that's going to be so slow. Oh, that's going to be so slow. This was a mistake. I'm immediately realizing this was a mistake. Okay, but what if I just put all the bread in the counter? Can I just, like, automate that sauce? Okay, so we can cook a whole stack. And what I'm hoping... Oh, wait! Oh, it moved it to the oven! Oh, that's cool. Wait. The oven requires power. Okay, that's a bit of a drawback that I can probably solve by... I don't know, maybe routing power out the back? There's no good way to cover that up, though. I'll need to think about this. I suppose I could hide another dynamo underneath this, but I wasn't expecting... Ooh, light bulb. Hold on. What if real quick, we did something like that? That'll do. Okay, so that's the other option. We don't need electricity. We could also supply fuel. So that's probably what we're going to end up doing. Wait. Qu'est-ce que... Okay. Oh, it's got an intermediate phase where the bread, like, phases into the toast. That makes a lot more sense. This is fine. This is fine. And now we've got toast from both the toaster and from the oven. That's better. That's cool. I can deal with that. And then the last thing we want to do, just to test it out, is I want to drop down here and grab some avocados. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're just going to put a whole bunch of avocados in the fruit basket. And does that update? Oh, it updates the display. That's really cool. And you are just filling up with milk. Okay, I can already see how I'm going to be able to automate with that. That's kind of cool. I don't know if recipes can, like, use those, but I'm assuming they do. And we can also see, clearly, that because the fruit basket is full of avocado, we now have access to avocado toast here. And let's just put a whole bunch more in there. Now, one thing that I don't like is that the toast appears to be stuck in the oven. So we'll have to think about that. I'm suspecting that when I make the avocado toast... Okay, yep, it goes back in my inventory and out of the oven. So that's perfectly fine. This will take some getting used to, but I still think it's far more effective than what I had been doing. If only because now this same amount can cook like, I think probably 9 times the amount? Maybe? Yeah, so the oven is really effective at smoking things. Like, probably even more so than this, but I still like this from, like, a functionality and aesthetic standpoint. Like, if you're just into create, this'll do it for you, but cooking for blockheads, this is also very helpful. Wait, 2.14 megabuckets. That's megabuckets, right? That's like 2,140 something buckets of water? Is that how much water is there? I think it is, because this is clearly illustrating or indicating lowercase millibuckets, which is just, you know, 1 bucket. Or 1,000 millibuckets is 1 bucket, versus this is megabuckets. This is a lot of water. I know that the sink is supposed to provide infinite water, but this is a crazy way to represent that game. Anyway, that's enough yammering. We've done everything that I came to do. We do still need to fill up the tool rack with some tools, but we'll get there down the road when I start making more complex recipes. I would really like to make recipes that have 3 or more food groups, and right now my eye is on pineapple and pepperoni pizza, just because I'm a big sucker for, like, Hawaiian pizza, and I know that's not going to be everybody's jam, but don't yuck my yum. Anyway, that is going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified, and as always, I'm looking forward to your feedback in the comments below. And with that, I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks for watching, everybody! In the upper left is the next video in the series, or a video you might like. In the lower left is the series playlist, and on the right is my icon by which you can subscribe. Thanks again for watching!